Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel Accounts Guru Cool. Learn accounting online. So today we are here with one more content. In this, we are going to discuss about top 25 revenue accountant interview questions with answers that we are going to discuss. These questions related to accounting standard 9 and IFRS 15. It means that the revenue accountant that's related to the revenue recognitions and from accounting standard 9 and that's related to the IFRS 15. So considering that, what sort of experience and background based questions going to ask in interview, how you have to give the answer for that, behavioral questions, technical accounting questions, problem solving questions, and case study questions. That's all we are going to discuss in this content. And we are going to see how you have to give the answers for that. That's everything we are going to discuss in this content itself. So request all the members to be with us till the end of this content to have more clarity about revenue accountant interview questions and how you have to give the answers for that. In addition to this, if you guys are looking for any sort of training related to accounting and finance, then request you to connect with us on our email ID accounts.gurukul@yahoo.com. And that's all is going to be the practical related to O2C, O2C, P2P, and FP&A plus R2R or anything related to software as an end user. So you can connect with us on our email ID accounts.gurukul@yahoo.com. Leverage this membership to grasp more knowledge related to your requirement towards accounting and finance. So request all the members to like and go through with this content to have a more clarity about what sort of interview questions is going to be and how you have to give the answer for that. So now, type of questions to expect as a revenue accountant, experience and background questions that we are going to discuss. So what's the expectation from these questions is that these questions aim to assess your professional history, qualifications, and achievements, providing the interviewer with insight into your suitability for the role. So based on that, this experience based questions and background based questions is important in any interview. And what's the intention of that? That important for us to know, so you are able to give in more expected answers towards that question. So we are going to see what sort of questions going to be there. But before, what's the meaning of these questions? Behavioral questions, focusing on your past experiences and actions. These questions help interviewer understand how you handle various situations, work with others, and approach challenges. That we are going to see from the behavioral questions. Next, technical accounting questions. In this, we are going to discuss about designed to evaluate your knowledge of accounting principles, standards, and regulations. These questions ensures you possess the necessary expertise for the positions. So from this technical accounting questions is going to evaluate your accounting principles. That's going to be jump towards the fundamental concept principles about accounting plus standards, that's the accounting standards and regulations. That's going to evaluate from the technical accounting questions. What we are going trying to achieve through the problem solving questions, by presenting hypothetical or real life scenarios, interviewers can gauge your critical thinking, creativity, and ability to develop effective solutions to complex issues. So the problem solving questions as well. So what sort of going to be asked and how you have to answer for that. That's also we are going to discuss. And the next, case study questions. These questions involve analyzing a specific business situations, allowing the interviewer to assess your practical applications of accounting concepts, analytical skills, and decision making abilities. So that's interviewer is going to analyze through case study questions. So considering that, we are going to jump what sort of questions is going to be from all these aspects and how you have to give the answer for that. So the first, experience and background questions. Answering experience and background questions accurately and confidently is crucial as it demonstrates your qualifications and professional achievements, assuring the interviewer of your suitability for the revenue accountant role. So, what's going to be achieved through this and how the interviewer is going to judge? That's the important from the experience and background questions. The first, can you explain your experience with revenue recognition principles and guidelines? So the first question itself is based on the revenue recognition principles and guidelines. Can you explain your experience with revenue recognition principles and guidelines and how you have to give the answer for that? In my previous role as a revenue accountant, I gained extensive experience with revenue recognition principles and guidelines such as AS9 and IFRS 15. I was responsible for reviewing contracts, identifying performance obligations, and determining the appropriate revenue recognition method for each transaction. This experience allowed me to ensure accurate financial reporting and maintain compliance with regulatory standards, ultimately contributing to the company's financial stability and growth. So, when the question is going towards the recognition principles, can you explain your experience with revenue recognition principles and guidelines? So, you have to give the answers in this way. In addition to that, you have to demonstrate your experience, your practical knowledge, and how you handled in your previous organizations. So you have to give the answers in that way. And if you don't have the exposure towards that, still based on your knowledge, you have to give the answers how you're going to handle that. So that's important. Next is towards how have you handled complex revenue accounting issues in previous role? Because these are all questions is based on your background questions. If you are applying for revenue accountant, then what sort of profile you handled earlier? Based on that, these questions is going to be. If you are coming from that background, then these questions is going to be there. How you have you handled complex revenue accounting issues in previous roles? This is going to be the applicable to evaluate either you have the enough experience, enough exposure or not. Since you are giving the interview towards the experienced person towards the revenue accountant. In previous positions, I encountered a situations where a client had multiple performance obligations within a single contract, some of which had variable considerations. I carefully analyzed the contract, allocated the transaction price to each performance obligations, and applied the appropriate revenue recognition method. This ensured accurate financial reporting and compliances with relevant accounting standards, ultimately leading to increased trust from the client and a strengthened business relationship. So, have you handled complex revenue accounting issues in previous roles? Here, we are discussing about the probable answers, how you have to give it. In similarly, you can add your own experience towards that, and you have to give the answer for that. But what's the expectation? That's important. And one explanatory answers is available. Based on that, you have to articulate in your experience, in your practical scenario, and give the answer for that. Next is towards, have you worked with different revenue streams and how did you ensure accurate reporting for each? This is also going to be the important based on your background questions. In my previous role, I work with various revenue streams, including product sales, subscriptions, and service contracts. So multiple segmental business is there. To ensure accurate reporting for each, I carefully analyze the revenue recognition criteria for each stream, applied the appropriate accounting standards, and maintain detailed documentation for that. This approach allowed me to provide accurate financial information to stakeholders and maintain compliance with regulatory requirements. So with different revenue streams, it means if you have the multiple line of businesses, then how you handle that, how you ensure the accuracy. So that's important to analyze from this question. Next is towards, can you discuss your experience with financial analysis and forecasting related to revenue? Throughout my career, I have been responsible for analyzing financial data and creating revenue forecasts to support strategic decision making. For instance, at my previous company, I developed a forecasting model that incorporated historical trends, market conditions, and sales pipeline data, which helped the management team make informed decisions about resource allocation and growth initiatives, ultimately leading to a 15% increase in annual revenue. So, can you discuss your experience with financial analysis and forecasting related to revenue? So, how you done the financial analysis, how you forecasted related to the revenue, based on what, and how that's helped to the organizations. That's also you have to explain. And again, these are all questions based on your experience and background verifications. So knowledge verification. So that's important. Next is towards, how do you stay updated on changes in accounting standards related to revenue recognitions? I regularly attend industry conferences, participate in webinars, and subscribe to accounting publications to stay informed about the latest developments in revenue recognition standards. Additionally, I maintain an active membership with professional accounting organizations, which provide valuable resources and networking opportunities to help me stay current with changes in the field. So that's important because it's going to be change into accounting standards related to revenue recognitions, or some new rules is going to be there. Then how you're going to keep updated yourself, knowing that this is one of the important area towards the any businesses. So you are going to do what you follow, you have to answer for that. Next is towards, once you're done with the experience based questions, then the 5 behavioral questions is going to be. Answering behavioral questions effectively is crucial as it allows interviewers to assess your interpersonal skills, work style, and ability to handle various situations, which are essential for success in the revenue accountant role. So considering that, the behavioral questions is going to be: one, can you describe a time when you had to analyze complex financial data to identify revenue trends? In my previous role, I was tasked with analyzing a large data set of sales transactions to identify revenue trends and potential growth opportunities. By using advanced Excel functions and data visualization tools, I was able to uncover patterns and correlations that lead to the implementation of targeted marketing campaigns, ultimately resulting in a 20% increase in sales over the following quarter. Very interesting. Can you describe a time when you had to analyze complex financial data to identify revenue trends? So now, the way AI is going on, the way RPA is going on, the way ML is going on, AI, artificial intelligence, RPA, robotic process automations, ML, machine learning, or ChatGPT. So, considering that, the trend for us to be part of the business growth, not the data entry operator. So, these questions is expected in each and every interview, and you have to demonstrate from your answers, from your experience, how you straightway added your contribution towards the business growth in percentage, in quantum of the amount. You have to answer in that way. Can you describe a time when you had to analyze complex financial data to identify revenue trends? So yes, I have done the analyze large data set of sales transactions and identified the revenue trends and identified potential growth of opportunities towards the business. And by doing this, 20% increase in the sales over the following quarter. So straight away you are adding some contribution towards the business growth. Then who do not want you to hire you? Everybody is requires such kind of peoples, and that's going to be required in the current market and in the future market as well. The predictions what we have done towards the 2030. So considering this technology, that's going to be important, and you have to start to change your answers now, how you contributed towards the business. How do you prioritize tasks when faced with multiple deadlines in a fast-paced environment? That's also is going to be the important one. When faced with multiple deadlines, I prioritize tasks based on their urgency, importance, and potential impact on the business. Now, if you see from these questions and the expected answers, everything is going to be correlate with the business, business, business. How your answers going to impact on the business, how you're going to do the benefit to the business, that's added here in your each and every questions, each and every answers. So when faced with multiple deadlines, I prioritize tasks based on their urgency, importance, and potential impact on the business. So your all the work allocations, your priorities is going to be changed based on the impact on the business. If that's going to be impact on the business, so you have to do the focus towards that. So that's going to be the answer for potential impact on the business. I create a to-do list, assigning each task a priority level, and then allocate my time accordingly. This approach allows me to stay organized, focused, and efficient, ensuring that I meet all deadlines and contribute to the overall success of the team. So now that's going to be the important how you are going to give the answer for that, and that's going to be added benefit towards the organizations, how you're going to do the contribution towards the growth of the business, and how your answers demonstrate your straightway doing the benefit to the business. That's important. Next, can you give an example of a time when you had to communicate financial information to non-finance teammate? This is also the important one, because if you are doing the any reporting, any presentation towards the technical team, then that's going to be the easy for you. But if it's going to present anything towards the non-technical team, it means the people who are not related to accounting and finance, and you are going to present to them, then that skills is also is important one, because these guys are not able to understand the technical language. So you have to demonstrate your skill towards the presentation towards the non-finance team. During a company-wide meeting, I was asked to present our department's financial performance to co-workers from various departments. I focused on simplifying complex financial concepts and using visual aids to illustrate key metrics, which helped everyone understand the financial health of our department and its important and its impact on the overall business. So that's going to be the important, because you have to use the PPT instead of the Excel and demonstrate how your business, how your department contribute towards the business growth. Next is towards how do you ensure accuracy and attention to detail when working on revenue reports or calculations? To ensure accuracy and attention to detail, I develop a systematic approach to reviewing revenue reports and calculations, including double checking my work using automated tools to identify discrepancies and cross referencing data with source documents. This meticulous approach has helped me maintain a high level of accuracy and minimize errors in my previous role. How do you ensure accuracy and attention to detail when working on revenue reports or calculations? So you have to demonstrate from your experience how you handle that and how you're going to handle in the future. Next is to us, can you discuss a situations where you had to resolve a revenue discrepancies or billing error? If you see, each questions is a practical, and that's going to be impact on the billing. Nothing is towards the out of the scope questions. This is straightforward. depending towards that particular role. In my previous role, I discovered a billing error that resulted in a significant overcharge for one of our clients. I immediately investigated the issue, identified the root cause, and corrected the error in our system. I then communicated the situations to the client, apologized for the mistake, and issued a prompt refund. This proactive approach not only resolved the discrepancy but also helped maintain a positive relationship with the client and reinforced our commitment to accuracy and transparency. Can you discuss situations where you had to resolve a revenue discrepancies or billing error? This is the one way is you have to answer, but you can add based on your experience. If anything is missed, anything is overcharged, then how you proactively approach to the client before client is going to do the escalations. You yourself identified, approach to the client, identified the root cause, corrected the error, and communicated to the client as well, and apologized for the mistakes. That's important. And immediately issued a prompt refund as well if you receive the payment from that your customer. Now we'll jump towards the technical accounting questions. Answering technical accounting questions correctly is vital as it demonstrates your in-depth knowledge of accounting principles and standards, ensuring you possess the necessary expertise for the revenue accountant role. That's an important one. How do you recognize revenue under accounting standard 9 and IFRS 15? This is related to your accounting standard principles towards revenue recognitions, and how do you recognize revenue? That's important. Under AS9 and IFRS 15, revenue is recognized when a company satisfies its performance obligations by transferring control of goods or services to a customer. This involves identifying the contract, determining the performance obligations, allocating the transaction's price, and recognizing revenue as each obligation is satisfied. For example, if a software company sells a one-year subscription, revenue would be recognized ratably over the subscription period as the customer receives access to the software. So this revenue recognitions as per the accounting standard 9 and IFRS 15, how it's going to be impact in revenue recognitions. That's how it's. Yes. So accounting standard 9 and IFRS 15, these two standards talk about revenue recognitions. When you have to recognize the revenue, how you're going to recognize the revenue, that's all explained in this accounting standard, and it's mentioned here. And you have to explain revenue is recognized when a company satisfies its performance obligations by transferring control of goods or services to a customers. Then only you have right to recognize the revenue in the books of account. Can you explain the difference between recognizing revenue at a point in time versus over time? Recognizing revenue at a point in time occurs when control of a good or service is transferred to the customer at a specific moment, such as when a product is delivered. That's a point in time. On the other hand, recognizing revenue over time involves allocating revenue across a period as the customer receives the benefits of the good or service, like in a subscription based model where access is provided continuously through the contract term. So that's going to be depend upon the, can you explain the difference between recognizing revenue at a point in time versus over time? Next is towards how do you account for sales returns and allowances in revenue recognitions? When accounting for sales returns and allowances, I first establish a reserve based on the historical return rates and current sales trends. This resource is then used to offset gross revenue, resulting in a net revenue figure that accurately reflects the company's financial performance. By closely monitoring return rates and adjusting the reserve as needed, I can ensure that our financial reporting remains accurate and compliant with accounting standards. So when it's going to be the how do you account for sales returns and allowances in revenue recognitions? So based on the historical return rates and current sales trends, we have to analyze and create the reserve that's going to be adjusted in the revenue recognitions. That's going to be impact in our P&L in the future. So that's all you're going to do it based on the trend and certain analysis. Next is towards what is the impact of variable considerations on revenue recognition. Variable consideration such as performance bonuses or sales incentives can affect the timing and amount of revenue recognized. To account for this, I estimate the variable considerations using either the expected value or most likely amount method and include it in the transaction price only if it's probable that a significant reversal won't occur. This approach ensures that revenue is recognized in a manner that accurately reflects the company's financial performance and compliance with relevant accounting standards. So what is the impact of variable considerations on revenue recognition? So your sales incentive, bonus, everything is going to depend upon your sales. So considering, we have to ensure when you are taking the entry for that based on the sales, and if that's not going to be the reverse, then only you have to consider for calculations. Next is towards how do you determine the transaction price in a revenue contract? To determine the transaction price, I consider the total amount of consideration the company expects to receive in exchange for the goods or services provided, taking into account any variable consideration, discounts, or incentives. For example, if a company sells a product for 1000 with a 10% volume discount for orders over 10 units, the transaction price for an order of 15 units would be 13,500. That's a 1000 into 15 units into 90%. That's excluding the discount of 10%. So that's the way you are going to determine the transaction price in a revenue contract. Next is towards the problem solving questions. Answering problem solving questions correctly is crucial as it showcases your critical thinking, creativity, and ability to develop effective solutions to complex issues, which are essential for success in the revenue accountant role. That's depend upon problem solving questions. First, how do you handle a discrepancy in revenue recognitions between the sales team and finance team? So when the problem solving questions, then these are all going to be based on the actual scenario, what sort of problem is there, and considering how you handle a discrepancy in revenue recognitions between the sales team and finance team. In such a situation, I would first gather all relevant informations from both teams to understand the root cause of the discrepancy. Then I would facilitate a meeting between the sales and finance teams to discuss the issue, clarify any misunderstandings, and collaboratively develop a solutions that align with accounting standards and company policies, ultimately ensuring accurate revenue recognition and fostering a cooperative work environment. So when we are from the SL, that's a subledger, revenue recognitions, sales, O2C, that's all is pertaining to the SL and the finance team. So if any discrepancies over there in revenue recognitions between the sales team, that's the SL team, and GL team, then how you handle that discrepancy, that's important. So you have to create a one case study based on your experience, practical, which you handled, and you have to give the clarifications for that. And in any situations, you have to demonstrate your skills. You have to go through with the accounting standards. You need to take the benefits of the IFRS 15 and AS9, and you have to see either it's from the sales team, mistake is from the sales team or accounting team. Our intention towards that to follow the guidelines, accounting standards, and company policies and ensure the accuracy. Next is towards, can you provide an example of a complex revenue recognitions issue you have resolved in the past? In a previous position, I encountered a situations where a client had multiple performance obligations within a single contract, some of which had variable considerations. I carefully analyzed the contract, allocated the transaction price to each performance obligations, and applied the appropriate revenue recognition method. This ensured accurate financial reporting and compliance with relevant accounting standards, ultimately leading to increased trust from the client and a strengthened business relationship. That's important. And you have to give the answers based on the scenario and how you handle that. How do you ensure accuracy compliance when dealing with revenue data? To guarantee accuracy and compliance, I develop a systematic approach to reviewing revenue data, including double checking my work using automated tools to identify discrepancies and cross referencing data with source documents. This meticulous approach has helped me maintain a high level of accuracy and minimize errors in my previous roles. How do you ensure accuracy and compliances? So to ensure the accuracy and compliances, what you followed in previous organization, in a previous experience, you have to give the answers. You have to demonstrate that experience and how you are going to take care for that and what's your approach methodology. That's important. What steps would you take to investigate a significant drop in revenue for a particular product or services? This is going to be the important one straightway towards the business impact. I would begin by analyzing sales data to identify any patterns or trends that could explain the drop in revenue, such as seasonality, changes in customer preferences, or competitive pressures. Next, I would collaborate with cross functional teams to gather insights on potential operational or marketing challenges that may have contributed to the decline. Based on these informations, I would develop targeted strategies to address the identified issues, monitor their impact, and make adjustments as needed to restore revenue growth. So, what steps would you take to investigate a significant drop in revenue for a particular product or services? That's the important one. And you have to analyze the sales trend. You have to do the study why the sales is declined, what's the trend in a previous, either it's a seasonal impact or your customers preference is changed, then what's the issues we have to identify it, and based on that we have to take the next course of action. How do you prioritize and manage multiple revenue related projects with conflicting deadlines? When faced with multiple revenue related projects and conflicting deadlines, I first analyze the urgency, importance, and potential impact of each project on the business. I then create a prioritized to-do list and allocate my time accordingly, ensuring that I stay organized, focused, and efficient in completing each task on time and contributing to the overall success of the team. How do you prioritize and manage multiple revenue related to projects with conflicting deadlines? So again, here as well, and potential impact of each project on the business. That's important. So everything is related to your business. So that's important. Next is towards the case study questions. Answering case study questions correctly is crucial as it demonstrates your ability to apply accounting concepts, analytical skills, and decision-making abilities in real-world situations, showcasing your practical expertise for the revenue accountant role. This is important. It's a case study based questions. Can you walk me through a recent revenue recognition projects you worked on? This is based on the case study. I recently worked on a project involving a software company that offered a bundled package of products and services. My task was to analyze the contract, identify the separate performance obligations, and allocate the transaction price accordingly. I applied the relative standalone selling price method to allocate the transaction price, ensuring accurate revenue recognitions and compliance with Accounting Standard 9. This project not only improved the company's financial reporting, but also enhanced my understanding of complex revenue recognition scenario. So, can you walk me through a recent revenue recognition project you worked on. So you need to take the some scenario, you have to give the some examples what you handled, and you have to demonstrate that you work on that and you have knowledge. How do you ensure accuracy and completeness in revenue recognition process? To guarantee accuracy and completeness, I develop a systematic approach to reviewing revenue data, including double checking my work, using automated tools to identify discrepancies, and cross referencing data with source documents. This meticulous approach has helped me maintain a high level of accuracy and minimize errors in my previous role. If same question is going to be the ask in different scenario, different case study questions, and multiple way, then you have to be on your answers and you have to give your answers in exactly that way. How do you handle discrepancies in revenue figures between different departments? In such situations, I would first gather all relevant informations from both teams to understand the root cause of the discrepancies. Whenever there is any discrepancies between the two things, you have to gather the data and you have to see what went wrong. And then you have to implement how that's not going to be in the futures, root cause analysis. Then I would facilitate a meeting between the sales and finance teams to discuss the issue, clarify any misunderstandings, and collaboratively develop a solutions that aligns with accounting standards and company policies, ultimately ensuring accurate revenue recognitions and fostering a cooperative work environment. Cooperative work environment, that's the important one. Can you discuss a time when you had to resolve a complex revenue accounting issues? In a previous positions, I encountered a situations where a client had multiple performance obligations within a single contract, some of which had variable considerations. I carefully analyzed the contract, allocated the transaction price to each performance obligations, and applied the appropriate revenue recognition method. This ensured accurate financial reporting and compliances with relevant accounting standards, ultimately leading to increased trust from the client and a strengthened business relationship. How you resolve the complex revenue accounting issues. And the next, how do you stay updated on changes in revenue recognition standards and regulations? This is again the same questions. I regularly attend industry conferences, participate in the webinars, and subscribe to accounting publications to stay informed about the latest developments in revenue recognition standards. Additionally, I maintain an active membership with professional accounting organizations which provide valuable resources and networking opportunities to help me stay current with changes in the field. That's the way you have to give the answer for that. So that's here. We discuss top 25 revenue accountant interview questions with answers related to accounting standard 9 and IFRS 15. So go through with this, gather the more knowledge on this. If you have any questions on any at your end on any questions instead of that, any query at your end on any questions, you can connect with us or you can put it in the comment. And if you need any sort of support, you can connect on our email ID that accounts.gurukul@yahoo.com. Thank you.